Welcome back to another episode of the Paradise Perspectives podcast. Am I glad that you're here joining me today? I'm your host, your island friend, your confidant, Rizal, and today we are talking about bubbles. Yes, bubbles. It's going to be interesting. And no, I don't mean the type of bubbles that you find in your champagne glass, and I don't mean the type of bubbles that is in your bath either. Is this thing on? But before we dive into today's topic, I want to first ask you a huge favor. If you are enjoying our conversations, I want you to go ahead and follow on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever it is that you are listening, on whichever platform you are listening from. And if you are on YouTube, you can go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And you can also, of course, go back to previous conversations that we've had in the past and see what all has been covered already. Now, let's talk about bubbles. So, the other day I was sitting on my bed and I have this incredible view. Like, girlfriend, if you see my view, it is so beautiful. But that's not the point of today's conversation. While I was looking at this view and I was just enjoying it, all of a sudden I saw bubbles. They were drifting down from upstairs and they were drifting past my glass doors, and I could see them going, just drifting by all the way to the floor of my balcony. And then I realized that it was actually the upstairs neighbors. They have this little boy and he is adorable as a button. And he was having a playmate over. So he was having a play date. And the two of them were blowing bubbles. But as I was watching these bubbles, two things occurred to me. Number one, how incredible it is to be a kid and to blow bubbles. And we don't play enough as adults. We always associate play with being kids, but we forget that as adults, play is actually essential. And it is actually the simplest way to create joy in your life. But yet we don't do enough of it. So I want to just remind you that play is not only possible for you as an adult, it is actually essential. Maybe this is something that we need to talk a little bit more in depth about in one of the future episodes. If you think so, please let me know. Now, the second thing that came to mind when I was watching these bubbles is actually while we're having today's conversation, and that is how much we have in common with bubbles. Stay with me here as I explain. You see, bubbles come in all shapes, in all sizes. Some of them are perfectly round while others are not. But what makes each bubble unique is what's going on the inside of each bubble. And that's exactly what we have in common with bubbles. You see, you and I might be different people. We might be having the exact same life, yet we are having different experiences. And that is because what happens in our bubble is different. You see, in our bubble is where we keep all of our beliefs, all of our memories, what happened to us in childhood, what we were taught, our experiences, our pains, our wins, our truths. So two people can see the exact same thing, yet experience it completely differently. And then I remembered something like that happened to me not too long ago. When my mom was still alive, and this was recent, she and I and my baby sister were sitting at her kitchen table and we were talking about our youth, of our childhood. And I told my mom, you know what, Dad may have been a rotten husband, but he was a really good dad. He was fantastic. And my sister all of a sudden looks up to me. She's like, Rizal, no, Dad was awful. Dad was just not a good dad at all. And it made me realize that while the two of us came from the same source, from the same parents, living in the same house, I thought we were having the same experience, but we weren't. Her experience, our childhoods were each very, very different. And that is actually the beauty of humanity. You see, life would be so incredibly dull if each one of us were exactly the same skin color, the same hair texture, the same color of hair, the same experience, the same life, the same likes, the same loves, the same everything. Can you imagine how dull life would be? So our strength and our beauty as humans is in that diversity, is in that uniqueness. What happens in our bubble, we think is the truth. We expect people to react like we would. We expect people to like the same things that we like. We get offended really fast. We argue to win. We label people instead of understanding them. We judge them before we know their story. We make things personal that shouldn't be personal at all. And especially nowadays, we see a lot of that. We see a lot of conflict. And no, we don't only see it in the political arena, we also see it in our personal day to day. I mean, social media alone festers with this, right? Just look at the comment section. Everybody has an opinion, and we fight about each other's opinion because my opinion may not be the same as yours. And we forget that this opinion is actually based on whatever happens inside of our own bubble. We always want to argue to win. We want to push our opinions on each other without actually being asked for our opinion. And we are living life as if our truths are the only truths that matter. Instead, we could have a little empathy. We could show that we care. We could actually just accept the differences between us. You and I might be looking at the same dress. I might see it as yellow. You might see it as blue. Does that make you a bad person because you don't agree with what I'm seeing? No, not at all. So instead of actually arguing to win and labeling people and judging each other, why don't we just pause before reacting? And this is interesting that this is coming back again because we just spoke about this in 2 episodes ago when we talked about triggers. It's the same thing. Pause before you react because you don't know what is happening in somebody else's life. Ask instead of just assuming. And listen fully before you just jump into an argument. Stop expecting people to think exactly like you, to like the exact things like you like. Remember that everyone is carrying something that you cannot see. You can disagree, but you can still have respect, right? You see, being human is beautiful because we are not carbon copies of each other. We are different pieces in one beautiful big puzzle, and that is what makes us so beautiful as humans. We are so unique. We are not meant to be the same. We are meant to be uniquely us in all of our faces, in all of our ups and downs, in all of our opinions. We are allowed to grow and change, and we are also allowed to live this beautiful life, this beautiful experience with our own truths without it having to be a problem for the next person. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. That's our conversation about bubbles. That's all I got for you today, my friend. And I am so happy that you joined in this conversation. You know, everyone is just drifting through life inside of their own bubble. Some of us move faster than others. So why don't we just judge less? Stay human and just show a little bit more of empathy for one another. Okay, if this episode has landed with you or if it has made you think, then I want to ask you again to just share it with somebody who needs to be reminded of this as well. You know, follow the podcast, subscribe on YouTube if you have a time, and leave a review on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. I'll be back with another episode next week. If there is something, a topic that you want me to discuss in an upcoming episode, then please send me an email. You can send it to hello@thetravelingislandgirl.com. Listen, girlfriend, I read every single email in my inbox and I reply to each one of them. So yes, I will reply to yours as well. Thank you again for listening. I'll be back next week. Ciao for now. Bye.